And I think he knows it. I think he knows it. So he is careful to avoid getting himself into those situations. But if he wants to mock, let him mock. Turn it around. Let Christ glorify himself by making a meaningful application of Christian truth in that situation. And folks, you've got to realize something. We are living in a day of darkness. We are living in the same kind of day when there were only 7,000 left who had not bowed the knee to Baal. And you've got to change your standards to match a Christian worldview that recognizes what's going on in the world around us. Or you're going to be constantly disappointed and constantly unhappy. You really do. At the end of the day, does it matter what's being said in Twitter, Facebook? Or at the end of the day, do you take the time to stop and ask a simple question? Did I this day seek to live consistently in light with what my Lord has revealed I am to be as his servant this day? Changes everything. Changes everything. Might have to turn off Facebook and Twitter if you need to. But even if you want to stay there as salt and light, who cares about the likes? Who cares about the comments? There's only one person you should care about. You should have an audience of one. Did I this day reflect the fact that I am seeking first and foremost to be a faithful servant of Jesus Christ? And I don't care what your calling is. That should be the first thing you're thinking of. That should be the first thing you're thinking of. So when I think of subjected scholarship, what I'm talking about is scholarship under the subjection of the lordship of Christ in all things, and that is not embarrassed by that. Allows that to determine everything else. That's what I'm referring to. And obviously you can see that has a huge impact when it comes to the issue of apologetics itself. Again, if Jesus isn't who he said he was, if all the treasures of wisdom and knowledge are not hidden in him, if he's not the creator, if he is not the exalted Lord who's risen from the dead, if he is, then we need to live in light of that. We really do. Now, couple things before we wrap up here. By the way, I almost forgot. Greg Kokel over at Stand to Reason had Mike Kruger from RTS Charlotte on right after the Ehrman book came out. And I listened to that, his program is called Stand to Reason. I listened to that episode right after listening to the Unbelievable episode. And it was ironic. Dr. Kruger, we've had him on the program before. I don't like to, I know he's extremely busy. I got to teach an apologetics class at the campus in Charlotte back in January. And we had dinner toward the end, and it was interesting to hear what books he was working on. And so he's a busy guy. And so I don't like to contact him all the time and stuff like that. I'm sure people would love to have him on more often than he is, but I'm sure he has a limitation as to how much he can do about that. I've talked about his material on the canon many times. Excellent stuff. He's really expert in all these areas. And in fact, I've started rereading once again The Heresy of Orthodoxy, which we have in the bookstore at aomin.org. You've just got to get that book. If any of this stuff, you've got to get, because I mentioned the Bauer hypothesis, and I said Ehrman's wedded to the Bauer hypothesis. Well, you might not know what the Bauer hypothesis is. Well, that's the central aspect of the Heresy of Orthodoxy. So it's a book you need to get, you need to read. It may not be the most exciting thing you've ever read in some areas, but here's where the practical application, here's where the rubber meets the road, as they say, is in this very stuff right here. But anyway, if you go over to STR, find the one with Michael Kruger on. They did about an hour because Mike Kruger actually was in Bart Ehrman's classes. He was an undergraduate student, and which shows you how young Michael Kruger is. But excellent stuff, and that'll be useful to you as well in addressing some of the issues we didn't address in this particular discussion. It wasn't and by the way, it was not my intention to even begin to interact with everything that was being said. I just think a lot of people heard that portion, how everything concluded, and went, how did we get from last week to this week? And if you don't understand the fundamental assumptions of the academy today and the price you have to pay to have a seat at the table, then you'll understand. Another thing, as you know, a lot of stuff coming up here in Phoenix. I'm speaking Saturday night and then all day Sunday. I'm not sure if we don't have anything up on that.
I'm going to throw a quick blog item up on that, but
okay.
As far as the listeners go, you're going to be at Fellowship of Grace in Northwest Peoria, 7825 West Deer Valley Road at 6 p.m. on Saturday. And then
that's just past the QT. Only reason I know that is because I ride Deer Valley Road.
Oh yes.
On my way, it's one of my routes.
Right.
So I'm a cyclist. Sorry, guys.
Landmarks are everything.
It's a landmark. That's right.
And then,
well, actually, I normally have to dodge crazy people coming out of QT. That's the other reason.
And then you will be at Sovereign Grace Bible Church on Sunday. You'll be doing the 9:30 to 10:30 Sunday School on the historicity of the New Testament. And then you'll be preaching the sermon that day. And then Sunday night, those who are in the Sunday school class are to write questions down. And then Sunday night will be a Q&A where somebody reads you the question and then you answer it. So,
Roger Dodger. Then the next week, headed to South Africa. We do have email from Rudolph Bushoff that we need to get up on the blog, which will give the details of where the debates are going to be. We'll be with Bashir Varnia again. When I'm going to be speaking on Bart Ehrman at Potchefstroom, Northwest University in Potchefstroom. The conference in Cape Town. Right now, the last thing to get nailed down is exactly where I'm going to be in London. I mean, I know where I'm going to be Friday night, but what I'm going to be doing